My name is Alaika Bansal and today I will be performing three contrasting monologues. The first monologue that I will be performing is taken from The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. This play was written and set during the transition of the Renaissance to the neoclassical era in Italy. During Shakespeare's era, he used Italian settings for many of his works, especially comedies. In this play, Antonio is a merchant in Venice who takes a loan from a Jew named Shylock for his friend Bassanio on the terms that if he was unable to repay it, Shylock would be entitled to cut off a pound of Antonio's flesh. Since his ships perish at sea, Antonio fails to repay the loan, which makes Portia, Bassanio's wife, disguise herself as Balthazar, a young lawyer, and save him. In this monologue, I will be playing the character of Portia, an eloquent speaker who is an intelligent and quick-witted woman. In this monologue, Portia is disguised as Balthazar, a young lawyer, and is summoned by court to provide justice. This monologue showcases the themes of mercy and fairness as portrayed by Portia. I did, my lord. I am informed thoroughly of the cause. Which is the merchant here, and which the Jew? Is your name Shylock? Of a strange nature is the suit you follow, yet in such rule that the Venetian law cannot impugn you as you do proceed. You stand within his danger, do you not? Do you confess the bond? Then must the Jew be merciful. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. 'Tis twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes a throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above the sceptred sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. An earthly power doth then show likest gods, when mercy seasons justice. Therefore, Jew, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that in the course of justice, none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy, and that same prayer doth teach us all the deeds of mercy. I have spoke thus much to mitigate the justice of thy plea, which if thou follow, this strict court of Venice must needs give sentence against merchant dead. The next monologue that I will be performing is taken from 14 by Alice Gerstenberg. This play was written and set during the Georgian period in San Francisco. This play revolves around Mrs. Pringle's dinner party that she is hosting to introduce her daughter, Elaine, to the city's most eligible bachelor, Mr. Oliver Farnsworth. We see her journey through how she plans every detail of this dinner party and how everything becomes a fiasco by the end of it. I will be playing the character of Mrs. Pringle, an elderly woman who is extremely responsible and wants everything to go the way she has planned it to go. It contrasts with Portia's monologue in terms of theme, era, and character. Portia's monologue showcases themes of fairness and justice as seen in the monologue, whereas Mrs. Pringle's showcases that of frustration and anger. regret and accept, they drive me wild. This is my last empathy, my very last. A fiasco, an utter fiasco. A haphazard crowd hurried together when I had planned everything so beautifully. Now how shall I seat them? How shall I seat them? If I would Mr. Tupper here and Mrs. Thornley there, then Mrs. Tupper has to stand next to her husband, and if I want Mr. Morgan there, oh, it's impossible. Never again. I might as well put their names in a hat and draw them out at random. I'm through. Through with society, with friends, with parties. After this, I'm going to live for myself. I'm going to be selfish and hard and unsociable and I'm going to make my living myself instead of offering it gratis to the whole town. They miss my entertainments. They wish they had been more considerate. I'm through. Through with men like Oliver Farnsworth. I don't care how rich they are, how influential they are, how important they are. They're nothing without courtesy and consideration. Business or furnishing. Nonsense. Didn't want to come? Didn't want to be a sweet, pretty girl? Didn't want to marry her? Well, he's not good enough for you. Don't you marry him. Don't you dare marry him. I won't let you marry him. If you try to elope or anything like that, I'll break it off. Yes, I would. Oliver Farnsworth will never get recognition from me. He is beneath my notice. I hate Oliver Farnsworth. The last monologue that I will be performing is taken from the one-act play, Hello, Goodbye, Peace by Gabriel Davis. This play takes us through the journey of Alina, a barista at a coffee shop, and Rob, a former inventor turned stockbroker, and their journey from their first hello at the coffee shop and if they find peace with each other or are forced to say goodbye. In this monologue, Alina is talking to a customer about being a barista, but it serves as an indictment against the retail and service industry culture of the United States. I will be playing the character of Alina, a bold and expressive feminist who works at a coffee shop and has dreams of climbing the economic ladder. It contrasts with Portia's monologue and Mrs. Pringle's monologue in terms of theme, era, and character. Portia's monologue showcases themes of mercy and justice, and Mrs. Pringle showcases those of frustration and anger, whereas Alina showcases those of having a personal vendetta and a visionary attitude. Have you ever heard the term latte factor? It means being destitute at a retirement age because you bought too many lattes. But I don't think that's an all-inclusive definition. Latte factor should also refer to the factor of humanity that is lost in the ordering of the lattes. Do you know what I mean? I want to change the world. I want all humankind to someone like you, we could all be globally perfect too. I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist. I don't like words that end in "ist." Fascist, racist, sadist. Now, you may be all those things. I don't know. I don't know you that well. But what I do know is that the way you order your latte tells me that you think very little of me. That you dehumanize me. This is just an impersonal transaction, and I'm nothing more than an espresso making machine to you. But if you cut me, would I not need espresso? No, I'd bleed your blood. Duh. So the next time you order your double cap whipped frappe, the least you can do is start by looking me in the eyes and saying, "Hi, how are you?" "Good, thanks, and you?" "Good." There. That isn't so hard, right? Then you can tell me what you have. You want to talk with my manager? Well, I want to talk to the High Commissioner of Human Rights in the UN and report you for your crimes against humanity. But we don't always get what we want. Also, I'm the manager here, the store manager, and today happens to be my last day. Oh, I'm going to go work on Wall Street as a portfolio manager. I figured the first step in changing the system is climbing to the top of it. Here's your coffee. I will now move on to the modification task. I will be performing the first half of Mrs. Pringle's monologue as if she was discussing a situation with a very close friend in a lift. I shall go mad. I'll never entertain again. Never, never. People often know whether they're coming or not, but they accept and regret and regret and accept. They'll drive me wild. This is my last part, my very last. A fiasco, an utter fiasco. A haphazard crowd hurrying together. When I have planned everything so beautifully. Now how shall I see them? How shall I see them? If I were to sit up here and Mrs. Conley there, then Mrs. Stubber has to sit next to her husband, and if I were Mr. Morgan there, it's impossible. I might as well put their names in a hat and throw them out as random. Never again. And through with society, with friends, with bodies, after this, I'm going to live for myself. I will now be moving on to the reflection task. I will be answering questions. Talk about how you chose your pieces for today's performance and how you balanced the contrast in mood and style. To choose the pieces for today's performance, I read through many play extracts, monologues, and many different pieces. But the main thing I kept in mind while going through these pieces was the contrast. Each piece had to be very different from the other, and it had to have a very distinct theme, a very distinct character, and the character needed to have a very distinct attitude from the others. To do this, to make things easier for me while selecting plays, I decided to take three monologues or three play extracts from different literary eras. So what this meant was, for example, Portia's is from the transition from the Renaissance to the neoclassical era. So this means that it has Shakespeare language in it and it was set in olden day Italy. Whereas Alina's monologue is set in the contemporary period of Manhattan. So this means it has a very 21st century language. It is very relaxed and carefree and not as formal as Portia's monologue. And to balance the contrast in mood and style, the literary periods definitely came in handy because, as we saw, Mrs. Pringle's monologue was full of frustration and anger, and she was frazzled because things were not going her way. But Alina's monologue was very relaxed, very carefree because she was being extremely sarcastic with her customer at the coffee shop, and Portia was calm and controlled. She was in control of the situation. She was doing exactly what Shakespeare wanted her to do. Outward the smartest Jew of Italy in the 16th century, Shylock. The next question, how does the extract you performed in one of the pieces fit into the overall story or plot arc of the piece? One of the extracts I performed was taken from a one-act play, 14 by Alice Gerstenberg. This was set in the 20th century of San Francisco. The play extract that I performed comes into the play towards the end. Because this play is only a one-act play, we see everything happening back to back, and that what is happening in this particular extract from the play is the climax. We see Mrs. Pringle has planned everything, but it's not going her way, and she's getting frazzled, and she is bad-mouthing Mr. Oliver Farnsworth, who is supposed to be her guest of honor and the city's most eligible bachelor. This fits into the story or the plot arc of the play very well because after the speech gets over, Mrs. Pringle's butler, Dunham, comes with a telegram or a fax from Mr. Oliver, and it says that because of the blizzard, I won't be able to attend, so I've sent the Prince of Wales in place of me. This brightens up Mrs. Pringle's mood in an instant second. And we see her switch from an extremely responsible and frazzled woman, someone who is in poise and is in control of her dinner party. And all that's well ends well for Mrs. Pringle. Next question. What have you learned about your own strengths and limitations during your preparation for today's performance? I learned a lot about my strengths and limitations, mainly because of the many practices that we did, and my strengths became even stronger and my limitations also became stronger. My strengths were researching about the play, going through the play, reading blurbs of it, reading extracts, understanding what the author wanted to portray in the play, and being able to portray that in my character so I would be able to fit into his or her shoes better. And as for my limitations, it was definitely memorizing all the lines of the three different monologues, and switching from character to character with just a time block of an introduction in the midst of each. But because of practice, I became better at it. And the last question, how have you developed your physical and vocal skills during the preparation for today's performance? My physical and vocal skills also developed a lot during the preparation for today's performance. For Portia's monologue, as we saw, she was disguised as Balthazar. So this means she had to have a very rigid posture. This was one of the physical skills that I used, and as for vocal skills, I had to use a lot of voice modulation for Portia because she has to be calm and controlled of the situation, but at the same time she has to be firm enough to put her point across to both Shylock and Antonio. For Mrs. Pringle, I had to use a lot of pitch change because at the beginning of the monologue, she is extremely frustrated, and then it's a condescending tone about how everyone's going to miss her entertainments and her dinner parties. And as for Alina, that was actually one of the easiest monologues out of the three for me because I am a teenager in today's world, and that is how most of us talk these days, sarcasm and constantly trying to be the best, and that's what Alina was. And those are the physical and vocal skills that I developed during the preparation for today's performance. Thank you.